When you first imagine moving in with your children, it often feels like the most natural decision in the world. After all, these are the people you raised, the ones who carry your blood and memories. You picture warm evenings at the dinner table, laughter echoing through the house, and a sense of comfort knowing that you're not alone anymore. But then reality begins to settle in, and it's not always what you thought it would be. The routines are different, the noise levels are higher. Suddenly, you're waking up to the sound of rushing feet, phones buzzing, or a television that plays long after you would normally go to bed. And somewhere inside, you start to feel like a visitor in a place that was supposed to be home. It's not that anyone has done something wrong. It's simply that life, at this stage, asks different things of us than it once did. In your 30s or 40s, you might have thrived on constant motion, juggling work and family all under one roof. But in your 60s, 70s, or 80s, your soul often longs for quiet, for space, for the kind of peace that helps you hear your own thoughts. That doesn't mean you love your children less. It doesn't mean you're ungrateful. It just means your needs have changed. That can feel surprising, can't it? To realize that what once gave you comfort now leaves you restless. Yet this shift is not a failure. It's simply the natural rhythm of aging. Like the way trees, in their older years, need stronger roots and fewer leaves to survive the storms, you too may find yourself needing less bustle and more stillness. Some people feel guilt when these realizations come. They say to themselves, "I should be happy, I should be grateful, I shouldn't complain." But gratitude and honesty can live together. You can be thankful for your family and still admit that something doesn't feel right. In fact, allowing yourself to notice this discomfort is the first act of wisdom. Because love without space can sometimes feel like air without oxygen. It surrounds you, but you can't quite breathe. Ask yourself gently, what did you expect from living with your children, and what do you actually feel now? Do you sense joy, or do you sense tension in your body, a kind of quiet fatigue that doesn't leave? These are not easy questions, but they are kind ones. They give you permission to see your truth without judgment. And when you see it clearly, you can begin to choose differently, to carve out a balance between closeness and freedom. Before we go any further, I'd love to hear something simple from you. Where are you reading this from? Share your city or country in the comments. It helps me imagine this circle of people, each of us in our own corner of the world, reflecting together on what it means to grow older with dignity and care. There is something I want you to truly hold on to. Independence is not selfish, and it is not a luxury. It is one of the deepest needs of the human spirit, no matter what age we are. When we grow older, it's easy to believe that dependence is the natural outcome of aging, that it's somehow expected or even necessary. And of course, needing help is not wrong, it's part of life. But losing the sense of your own rhythm, your own space, your own daily choices, that is what slowly takes away joy. I think of Maria, a woman of 72, who moved in with her son and his family after her husband passed. At first, it felt like the right thing to do. She didn't want to face the silence of an empty house. Her son wanted to make sure she was safe. And in the beginning, it seemed perfect. Family meals, children's laughter, the warmth of togetherness. But after a few months, something shifted. Maria found that her mornings, once a sacred quiet time with coffee and her crossword puzzle, were now filled with the sound of cartoons and the bustle of backpacks being packed. Her afternoons, when she liked to rest, were often interrupted by deliveries, doorbells, or simply the flow of family life. She began to feel invisible, as though her own preferences no longer mattered. One day, she realized she hadn't chosen what to eat, when to rest, or even what to watch on television in weeks. That realization broke her heart more than loneliness ever had. Maria's turning point came when she asked herself a very gentle but honest question. Where in this house do I still feel like myself? At first, the answer was nowhere. But then she started small. She set up a corner in her room with her favorite chair and lamp. She asked for one evening a week when she could choose the meal. She began walking to a nearby park each morning, giving herself back that time of silence she had always cherished. These were little steps, but they gave her back her sense of independence, and slowly she began to breathe again. That's the wisdom here. Independence doesn't always mean having your own house. Sometimes it means carving out your own space inside a shared one. It might mean a room that is only yours, a ritual that no one interrupts, or a time of day that belongs to you alone. It could be as simple as preparing your own breakfast, even if the rest of the meals are shared. Or keeping your own calendar, so you feel that your days are shaped by your choices, not only by others' routines. Think gently about your own situation. Do you have a space that feels like it belongs only to you? Do you still have rituals that remind you of who you are beyond being a parent or grandparent? These are not demands you must place on your family. They are gifts you give to yourself, which in turn help you show up with more joy and less resentment. Independence is not the opposite of love. In fact, it's what makes love sustainable. When you feel whole, when you have something that is yours, your presence with your children becomes lighter, warmer, freer. You stop carrying that hidden heaviness of feeling erased, and you start showing up with your truest self again. If Maria could find her way back to that, so can you. And if reading her story brings even a small spark of recognition in your heart, I invite you to hold on to that spark. Let it remind you that your needs matter, that your sense of self is still precious, still alive. And if this speaks to you, if it feels like the kind of reminder you've been needing, I would love for you to stay close to this space. Subscribe so that week by week we can keep exploring these gentle truths together. Because you deserve to keep that independence shining no matter where you live or how your family life looks. There is something deeply important to understand as we grow older. Our bodies and minds don't respond to pressure the way they once did. In your younger years, you might have been able to adapt quickly to noise, to change, to long days of activity. But as time goes on, your nervous system becomes more delicate. What once felt like a lively home can now feel overwhelming, even exhausting. This isn't weakness, it's biology. When constant interruptions, arguments, or even the simple buzz of daily family life surround you, your stress hormones rise. Cortisol, the body's main stress hormone, doesn't fall as quickly in later years as it does in youth. That means what should be a passing irritation lingers in your system longer, disturbing your sleep, raising your blood pressure, or leaving you with a restless feeling you can't quite explain. Some people are told to just get used to it, as though adaptation should come naturally. But here's the truth. With age, adaptation actually becomes harder, not easier. Your brain and body crave steadiness, predictable rhythms, and gentle environments. That's why boundaries matter more than ever before. Without them, even love can begin to wear you down. Imagine a home without doors. Everyone could walk in and out of every room at any time. Would it still feel like a home, or would it feel like a train station? In the same way, when there are no boundaries in family life, you lose that inner door, the one that allows you to close out the world for a while and restore your energy. Establishing boundaries doesn't mean shutting others out. It means making space where your spirit can breathe. It can be as simple as deciding on quiet hours in the evening, or as clear as asking your children to knock before entering your room. It can be saying, "I need this half hour in the afternoon for rest," and allowing yourself to keep that promise to your body. At first, you might hesitate, worried that setting these limits seems demanding. But consider this. When you are exhausted, when your needs are ignored, how do you show up for your family? Likely with less patience, less warmth, less of yourself. Boundaries are not walls against love. They are what protect love from becoming heavy. Think of your own life. Do you feel you have the freedom to rest when you need to?
Do you feel that your preferences are respected, or do you often keep silent for the sake of harmony? These are gentle questions, not accusations. They are invitations to notice where you may need to reclaim a small piece of peace. And remember, the science supports you. Your body will thank you for the structure. Your mind will calm when it knows there are moments of predictability. And your relationships will thrive when everyone knows where the invisible lines are drawn. Boundaries are not a sign of distance. They are a sign of maturity, wisdom, and care, both for yourself and for those you love. By honoring them, you give your children and grandchildren a gift, the chance to know you not as someone who is worn down, but as someone who is whole, present, and still deeply alive. Harmony in a shared home is never something that just appears by itself. It is something we create patiently and deliberately, step by step. You might already know how quickly love can turn into tension when daily needs clash, when silence is lost, or when expectations are left unspoken. But harmony is not about suppressing your needs for the sake of peace. It is about finding a way where everyone's rhythms can coexist without erasing one another. The first step is to take an honest look inward. What truly matters to you right now? Is it having a quiet hour after lunch? Is it keeping a corner of the house just for yourself? Or perhaps it is something as simple as choosing what music you listen to in the morning. Identifying your own needs with clarity is the foundation. Because if you don't know what restores you, how can others? The second step is to speak these needs with kindness, not guilt. You might say, I find I rest better when I can have the room to myself for a while in the afternoon. Or, it helps me feel settled when the mornings are calm. Notice how these are not demands. They are gentle truths about what helps you stay well. Families respond far better to kindness than to silent resentment. The third step is negotiation. Living together means that everyone has their own needs, and sometimes they overlap or conflict. You may need quiet, while your grandchildren need space to play. That's not a failure. It's an opportunity for compromise. Perhaps quiet hours can be agreed upon, or certain activities moved outdoors. The point is not to win, but to weave, to create a balance where no one feels erased. The fourth step is to build small rituals that connect you to life beyond your children's household. Maybe it's a walk to the library, a weekly gathering with friends, or time spent tending to your garden. These external anchors are vital. They remind you that you are more than a parent or grandparent. You are a person with your own story still unfolding. The fifth step is to revisit these agreements regularly. Families change, schedules shift, new challenges arrive. What worked a year ago may not work now.
Checking in without accusation helps keep the air clear and the bonds strong. Think of this as pruning a plant, not cutting it down, but shaping it so it can grow healthier. As you reflect, ask yourself gently, when was the last time you asked not only what your family needs from you, but what you need for yourself? It's a question many older adults hesitate to ask, as though their desires have become less important with time. But they haven't. Your needs are still human, still sacred, and honoring them allows you to show up with more warmth and less weariness. Harmony is not the absence of conflict. It is the presence of understanding. By taking these steps, you give yourself and your family the chance to experience the beauty of living together without the heaviness of unspoken tension. And perhaps, in the process, you will rediscover something very simple and very precious: the joy of being fully yourself, even in the company of those you love most. Closeness in a family is not measured by walls or roofs. It is measured by the quality of the time we share, by the tenderness of our presence, and by the freedom to love without feeling suffocated. Sometimes we imagine that the only way to stay connected with our children is to live with them under the same roof.
But real closeness often blooms in the space between visits, in the anticipation of a call, or in the joy of seeing one another after time apart. Think of the times you have spent an afternoon with someone you love and left feeling light and grateful. Now think of the times when long stretches of enforced togetherness have left you tired, even resentful. The contrast is a reminder that too much proximity can blur love, while healthy space allows it to shine. There are many alternatives to consider. Some older adults find peace in living nearby, perhaps just a few streets away, where visits are easy, but privacy remains. Others discover joy in senior communities, where companionship and independence coexist. Some simply establish routines that balance family time with solitude, making sure that their days hold both connection and restoration. These choices are not a rejection of family, but a redefinition of what it means to love wisely. Growing older is not about holding on to what used to work at all costs. It is about adapting, finding new forms of closeness that respect your changing needs. You may no longer want the constant noise of children around, but you may long for their laughter at Sunday dinners. You may not want to share every breakfast and bedtime, but a weekly walk or call might fill your heart more deeply than daily friction ever could. Your role as a parent has not ended. It is simply changed. And in that change lies an invitation to step back just enough to let your children's lives unfold while keeping your own life vibrant and whole. That is not abandonment. It is love with wisdom.
So ask yourself, without pressure, if you had the choice, what kind of togetherness truly nourishes you? Is it daily presence, or is it cherished moments sprinkled throughout the week or month? There is no single right answer, only the one that brings you peace. Remember, by honoring your own needs, you are also teaching your children an invaluable lesson: that love does not mean sacrifice of self, but rather the ability to walk alongside each other with respect and space. And now I would love to hear your thoughts. If you had to choose again, would you move in with your children, or would you keep your own space and find other ways to stay close? Share your story in the comments. Your wisdom might be exactly what another person needs today. And if these reflections have spoken to you, I warmly invite you to subscribe so we can continue this journey together, gently exploring how to age with dignity, freedom, and love.